Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome as you start coming on in. It's Tuesday morning, which means it's the Sick of This Show Notes of the Week with Nick Paro. That's me. And my good friend and co host, Walter Rhein, level 36 magic user, intelligent masculine man, and just good friend.
Yes.
It's good to have you, Walter. How are you today? As people come on in, I'm going to start getting our show link out, make sure everybody on our subscribers know and people can come on in with us. How are you today, Walter?
Good, Nick. And
In the
it's
land
always,
of the United States of fascism.
well, it's always a delight to see you, and it helps kind of center me every week. I don't know where I'd have been without you and others that I've met here on Substack. So I appreciate you, my friend, and we'll just keep going. We'll keep building.
There's really no other choice other
Yes,
than to
there's
go
not.
forward. Because the only other thing that we do, you
Yep.
either go forward or you stop.
Yep.
And if we stop, we lose.
Yep. And the
And
only way you fail is if you quit. So we are not going to quit.
and if you don't try,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm here for the try too. Like I'd rather try and get stopped, but still do the right thing than not even try at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you and I were talking before the show too, is we're also here to make sure we make connections with ourselves, with others, with and connect others to people and get them where they're supposed to be. Um, and I think we're doing that. It's going to be like today. I'm going to have a really good day. I'm going to meet with This Will Hold on Banner and Backbone here at 2 p.m. Eastern on December 16th. For those who watch on the recap, um, on and we're going to talk about elections and what we can actually do from a citizen standpoint to make a difference and not just sit up here and complain, but how do we connect to the right people in the right places? How do we continue to make positive influence and
Yeah.
be positive role models for other people? And I know one of my notes today, I'll put it up here in a couple minutes,
Yeah.
is about the fact that it's working.
It
Uh,
is.
and we need to keep doing more of it.
Yes.
Uh, and what's working is we're being authentic, we're uplifting those around us, and we're not making it about us. I
Yes.
don't need to be the one who is elected. I don't need to be the one who is the expert in everything. There are so many people around me, so many amazing women specifically around us that are doing such incredible work. And I'm not going to say just women. There's so many people, citizens. I want to include like Ellie Leonard, Melissa Corrigan,
Yeah.
Shane Urick, um, and the work that say those three are doing just in themselves.
Yes.
Let's add Zev Shalev in there because he's doing an incredible amount of work on the Epstein stuff as well. And in those categories, those four individuals are doing so much work.
Yes.
Um, like, and I'm here just to help promote what they're saying and what they're putting out there. Um, because they know way more in those areas than I do.
Yes.
That's not my lane.
Yes.
That I stay in my lane. Um, and if I can be really good at my lane, then I'll let other people be really good in
Yeah.
their lanes. Because unlike Trump, we actually promote the best and care about
Yes.
the best because we have a equal and diverse pool of friends and people that we talk to, and we promote the best of them.
Yep.
I promote
Well,
all of them as best as I can, but we ensure to always promote the best around us as examples.
yep.
And Walter, before we get in, not to rehash anything that happened last week too
Oh
too
man.
deeply, I want to make sure to just rehash the fact that if you did not watch last week's episode, you really need to. I'll include maybe if I can the clip for the when Walter was talking about it, but there was an event that Walter saw he should have never had to experience. And you came out in such a positive, thought forward, emotionally available response. And it was really nice to it was really wonderful to hear and to be able to share the grief with you, and let you know that you're not alone. And it showed a really good example of what intelligent masculinity is. Um, and I just wanted to make sure that I told you in person or across the screen in person is thank you
Yeah.
for being a positive role model and being
Oh,
a model for me that I can learn from.
well, thank you so much. And it was nice to have that moment where I could share with you guys. And I've been reflecting on that a lot in this last week. I haven't even published the replay yet. I just scheduled it finally. I just been kind of sitting on it and thinking. And there's sometimes these thoughts just kind of build and build. And I was just reflecting. I mean, we don't honestly talk about our emotional state, and it's this complex thing. We have this one, forward facing mask we wear, and the reality of humanity is much more complex. And there are days, when you witness tragedies, and I'm old enough now, you get to a point in life where you've started to lose people and you've seen awful things and you realize the consequences of reckless behavior. And, you know, being the responsible person isn't the sexy thing, but it avoids these horrible, horrific tragedies that derail your life and ruin the lives of all the people around you. And our society, it's still so built on this adolescent mentality where we revere these bullies for some reason. And we just need to have more of those conversations about the fact that when something precious is lost, it can never be regained. It's gone forever. So we just have to tap the brakes, and wear our seatbelts and drive the speed limit and do everything right. And that's what we got to emphasize. And I see you're mentioning the people in the comments, and I see Patrick respects the truth that he's headed down to a town hall today to get back to what Nick was saying about, we don't have to run for president. There's all these little things we can do, little bit and little bit, and we are making a difference. We're making things better. And I know just the ability to get, I didn't have you as a friend earlier this year, and we've developed a friendship to the point where I can just burst into tears in front of you and share my grief. And that's a pretty big evolution in a short period of time, and I'm grateful. And just before I got on here, I was talking with Leoba Gretchen Shirley, who does votemamafoundation.org. I'll be releasing that
Hmm.
talk. And it's just like all these wonderful people are out there. She's working to get mothers elected to office. We need that maternal kind of influence in our society. And Nick and I have said, I think our role here, we've kind of figured it out for the next couple of years. Do what we can to support these marvelous, wonderful women who are running for office, who have that viewpoint that, Nick and I don't necessarily have. We can be as empathetic as we want, but I don't see the world through the eyes of my wife, who's a mother and an immigrant. She endures things I don't understand. So we have to empower all of the wonderful women in our life. And it's been too long that toxic masculinity has been the ruling ideology of this nation.
Yeah. And I totally agree. Yeah. Like you just said, it's about uplifting and supporting and promoting the ideals that should be common sense and should be normal for all of us in this society, but for some reason aren't. Um, and we need to I think our role is to teach men and other men, one, in the next year, how to be emotionally intelligent and how to have an intelligent form of masculinity, and to show men that, not that a woman can be president, or a woman, or is the US ready for a woman to be president, or are the Democrats ready to be a progressive movement towards change rather than the broken status quo that they're holding on to for fascism
Yeah.
later. Is It's our job to uplift men and say, hey, it's not that are we ready for a woman president, or are we ready for Jasmine Crockett, say, to be, I don't know, Speaker of the House. If for some reason she doesn't win her Senate race, because that one's two incredibly good candidates that are going to be running against each other. And I support both of them. I support Jasmine Crockett more than I do James Tallarico. That being said, I support them both. I think they would both be good candidates, and this primary is going to be good for both of them. But let's say, is the Senate ready for a black female Senate majority leader who is a progressive
Ooh,
from Texas?
yes.
That's the question we need to be able to answer. And after talking with Will Fullwood last week too about like deconstructing over time, like white supremacy and my own views and my own biases and relearning, is um, not, are we ready? We need to, our job is to help reframe the narrative and the conversation that puts women who are ready in the positions they should be in, because they deserve them, because they've worked their asses off for them, and because they're over fucking qualified for them, not because they're women, but because they deserve the fucking space.
Yep.
And they have nuance in conversations that I can't. Like you said, Walter,
Courtney.
you
Courtney
can't
just
have
put
the
it great.
same nuance as,
Yes.
sorry, just let me finish this real quick, is we can't have the same nuance as our wives do when we talk about certain issues. I cannot talk about female reproductive rights or the female body or how things impact women the same way a woman can. And until we've had women for president and every woman on the and every justice on the Supreme Court is a woman in ad nauseum for 250 years straight, then we will be in a equal society of women having fair rights as in leadership.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think
sorry.
we can convince men easily that that's a way to get there without degrading themselves.
Yeah. And sorry for interrupting. Courtney had a wonderful comment. She says, "Are you ready for an ethical, emotionally intelligent leader? That should be the question." And she's absolutely right. And that's what actually that comment represents a lot what Nick and I are trying to do. And I'm a person, my expertise is in narratives, and just seeing the turn of a phrase like that. And so you switch the narrative from the country isn't ready, like that false narrative, to something true. Like, say, the country is desperately in need of an ethical, emotionally intelligent leader. So that's a wonderful comment. And the other thing, Nikki, you're saying is, yeah, no matter how ethical and compassionate we are, we just don't have the experience of other people. And that's why representation is so important. And we're seeing the right has their war on diversity. And they say dishonest things like, oh, well, you say, I would like to have a woman at the table. And they say, well, you're just saying bad things about men. It's like, I'm not saying bad things about men. We're just commenting on the reality. The different perspectives are vital for us to see the entire picture. And if we have this government, which we have currently, that's made up entirely of millionaires who are predominantly old white men, there's just huge portions of our society that just do not get fair representation. And that's what's responsible for the mess we're in now. Has to change.
Yes, totally agree. And I'm pulling up all of our notes right now for that we're going to talk about, because some of these play into all of this, or well, all of these play into all of this, because we're always on theme with ourselves. Is we're just unabashedly pro what we care about. Like
Yeah.
we're not afraid to say that we care about something and then stick with it and then be like, yes, this is what we believe is right. And I believe that one of the things that we could easily do, and here's a way we can reframe the conversation, is there should be more representation in the House of Representatives in general, which means we need to expand the House of Representatives, which would allow us to have more representation right off the bat. I think people would be open to the discussion without ever having to say a specific candidate or a specific set of values.
Yeah.
Is I think most Americans, on a very, very high majority, I would think, believe that they're not represented properly.
Yeah.
I think white people included. I think
Yes.
white people, and for a lot of white people, for fake reasons, for self-made victim mentality, like a self-made victimhood. Like, I'm not going to acknowledge white supremacy as a valid fear or valid concern. Like, you are not valid as a ideology for being supremacists. That's just shitty. Like, fuck off. That's basic humanity that you don't care about. But there are real concerns that are across the board that are race agnostic, that are gender agnostic. And one of those is we are underrepresented in the House of Representatives and in government overall, which means expand the House of Representatives. It's a law that that just needs to be repassed. Like, all they have to do is pass a law and say, hey, now instead of 400 something of us, there's 700 something of us, because there's an actual formula that breaks down like what the how many people there should be based on the percentage of the population. And we should have like roughly 750 representatives, which would mean smaller districts, less gerrymandering, more representation, and it gives people something that they can be for. And that would allow more women and more women of color in areas to have the opportunity to run and not compete against each other when they shouldn't need to artificially compete against each other. And I think that's where we can get people.
Oh, did we cut out a little bit?
I fucking want more.
Oh, you're back.
Oh,
You're back.
You lost me there for a second.
You're back now, though, it seems like.
It's not just I want more women in office. It's I want more representation. And part of equal representation means women need an equal say in making laws. And to get there, if you're so afraid of losing your job, then just expand the House. You won't lose your job. You might even keep your job because you'll get a smaller district and they'll like you more. But you'll have to compete in a diverse, small district that you can't gerrymander the shit out of. Sucks to suck.
Yeah.
And I think that leads into, I'm going to pull up my first note. I know I've been monologuing. Walter, you had something you wanted to say in there too.
Oh, no, I was just looking through a lot of these comments. Somebody had pointed out, it was a little bit of a while ago, but it was coming to terms with, here it is. Sean Flanagan said, I just saw a screenshot on Blue Sky of a man saying that he was ashamed that he ever voted for Trump. How to reconcile our anger at Trump voters with the need to get them on our side. And I think it's okay to be angry, and we have to make sure that they are sincere. The grifters who are looking at trying to take advantage of a power vacuum, we have no obligation to bring them back in. But the ones that are sincerely repentant, we should be able to have all these conversations then. All the things Nick and I have been talking about, if they're sincerely repentant, we can't say, I don't want, they have to be willing to have gun control. They have to be willing to go for universal health care. Have those conversations. So give yourself permission to have these conversations you maybe wouldn't have had with other people because you're afraid, because we've all been kind of brainwashed to not demand a government that works for us. So if you've got somebody coming up, say, I regret my vote, say, okay, do you stand for, human dignity now? Do you stand for tolerance of immigrants? Do you stand for reproductive, protecting the right to reproductive health care? Make those statements. And because you're inclined to not talk to that person anyway, right? You're not going to lose anything. It's not like talking to a family member where there's this other stress. And it gets you in the habit of talking about the things that we should all be demanding. So I think that's a good place to start. And you equip them to have the conversations. And you say, look, if you are sincerely repentant, go forth to your community and advocate for these issues too. And I think that's a good way to approach that.
Yeah. And let's be honest too. Would you rather, as somebody who has information put at you, would you and doing this authoritatively and being authoritative, because I'm going to go into our note on how we talk to people and how we make a difference, is yesterday I got really good news from my wife was that people in my extended family I have never met and never thought or expected would listen to what I have to say are listening. They're hearing it. It's being shared organically. The reason they do it, and I was told this was the feedback I received, was they really appreciate when we talk about masculinity and issues about masculinity and isolation and re and understanding emotions. They people in our family like that because I'm not attacking them as a political entity either. We're not attacking your politics. I think people are so wrapped up in the idea that their politics are their identity that they forget they have an identity behind it. And when you just start talking about the values, people care, people share it. I have extended family now that I've never met who may even listen to this show. And I hope they do. I hope they do. And I hope they appreciate the conversation we're having around them and the organic growth that they are showing. And the message that they're sending back to me is people are hungry for authenticity. They're fed up with the direction that we're going. And we have the power to win. We share because sharing is caring. You learn that in kindergarten and earlier. Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
And go share your favorite pro-democracy creators and content with your families because it does make a difference.
It does.
Oh, hey, Elizabeth. It's good to have you in the conversation with us. Thanks for joining. Elizabeth Raven is sorry to I'm going to derail myself for a second. She is out of Venezuela and reports on Venezuela and commented on one of my notes from this morning about the most recent attacks. And I'd really like to get you on a show, Elizabeth, at some point, because I want to talk to you about what's going on down there. I do a lot of reporting around Venezuela and the importance of preventing a war as much as we can and what we can do to stop it. And the one person I've been hoping to find is someone who's actually in Venezuela, so we can talk about what's happening from an on-the-ground perspective, because Americans aren't seeing that. Americans aren't hearing the true stories of what's going on, and we need to know that. And that way, folks who are, say, in my extended family, who now maybe subscribe to me or have these messages forwarded or these videos and podcasts forwarded to them in emails or some way, like they may find all this and hear it and go, wow, we need this information. It's vital. And so I want to make sure people hear about it because the truth speaks loud. Like the truth is really powerful, especially if we get it and then put it out there. So Elizabeth, I'll reach out if that's okay. I'd love to talk with you. I know Melissa Corrigan would probably also really enjoy speaking with you. But I cannot speak for her because I'm not Melissa. But I'll invite you to speak with the both of us because I think we both really enjoy getting to talk to you. And I know Arturo Dominguez restacks her work and her notes. So Elizabeth, keep doing what you're doing. I trust what Arturo has to say around Venezuela and what's going on there too. And so knowing that he trusts what you're saying is important. So sharing is caring. Walter, what do you think?
No, it's absolutely true. I was thinking about Elizabeth. Bienvenidos, Elizabeth. Ten cuidado, estamos apoyándote. Es un país hermoso. Hace 20 años estaba en Venezuela. Mi esposa es de Perú. Y sí, es un país. La gente son muy agradable, muy cariñoso. Y espero que evitamos un acto horrendo de nuestro país. Y estamos apoyándote. I just wanted to say a couple of things. I was thinking about the country, and I went to Venezuela 20 years ago just because the U.S. government, and it's the oil is what the United States is looking at. It always has been, and I went there just because the United States government said not to go. So I spent a month in Venezuela, and it's the most wonderful place. The people there are great. And yeah, I've still got a lot of friends that are in contact with me in Venezuela. And it's just another thing about the United States. The people and the people in the United States just don't understand what South America is like. And so many people have never traveled. And they need to travel. They need to see what these you run, and Arturo's so great about this too. You run into so many Americans who have misconceptions about so many things, and as part of it is our job to tell them, these countries are great, and a lot of things that they do are much better than we have here. And it was in South America that I first got my experience with people that just accepted you for who you are, and it was the first time I lived in a country was not a white supremacy based country like the United States is. And I didn't understand it then. I didn't fully understand it when we moved back. It's taken me this long, and I guess a lot of this comment you wrote too. I've been wanting to tell people, you shouldn't feel. It's a hard process. We have to reprogram our subconscious mind. Our conscious mind reprograms our subconscious mind, and what I found out, it's an effort. It's an effort. It's like, this goes back to that comment about the people who supported Republicans before. You have to make that effort. It's like learning something. You want to learn to be an electrician. The first 10 times you install an outlet, you got to think. But after you've done it for a year or two, you're just going to install an outlet like this. And embracing a way of compassion is like that, reprogramming our minds so that we are subconsciously always compassionate. And I've made this effort, and I've had people come up to me and say, Walter, the thing you said or the thing you did was so kind. And it was something I did on autopilot, like driving home from work, just because you reprogram your mind so you're kind all the time, and it's not taking effort to be kind. And I think that's a real problem in the United States. You see these ads where men think all they have to do is buy their wife an expensive piece of jewelry, and all of a sudden they're a good husband. That's not it at all. If you want to be in these healthy relationships, you have to reprogram your subconscious mind deliberately with your conscious mind so that every interaction with your child is a good interaction, or your spouse or all the people are important to you. I go back to there was a line in the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade where the father thinks the son has died, and he said, I never told him anything. 5 minutes would have been enough. And it's kind of a sweet moment because it's that moment of regret that most people have. And it's kind of stayed with me. That movie came out in 93. And I've resolved to not make it so I would ever say that, every minute. And it does take more than 5 minutes. But at the same time, those 30 seconds of kindness is something that might resonate with your child or your spouse or all the people close to you for the whole rest of their lives. And it's those little acts, the people that are feeling despair over all the things we're facing now. Those little acts of kindness are what make all the difference. Little tiny things. So just keep with it, keep doing good works, and we are going to be victorious.
One of those small acts of kindness that would be a really huge act of kindness is Walter's note, his first note for the day, which is, I'll let you read it, but the small act of kindness that could be done would have just been a intelligent, masculine man stepping up and going, hey, that's fucking wrong.
Yes, absolutely. And this has been an interesting note. There's been a lot building on this, but so the note is James Carville attacking Crockett is no different than the president disrespecting a reporter. Other Democrats have to speak up and silence that asshole. and so what the first thing I'm referencing there is when the reporter was just asking completely reasonable questions to the president. He called her piggy. He said all these horrible things, toxic masculinity, disrespectful, unaccountable. And there was some backlash to the other reporters, in that press room, that they didn't say, Mr. President, those words are inappropriate. And that's important. It is important for us to stand up. And so, but then I'm going to pivot a little bit, because it's not just the Republicans, who are causing these issues. And I feel that James Carville is my impression of him is that he is racist. And, Jasmine Crockett just entered the Senate race, and Tallarico's in there. He's been saying wonderful things. But she landed with this advertisement that's caused a lot of waves. And we keep seeing this in the Democratic Party. When certain progressives start gaining momentum, the establishment Democrats come out and they take the wind out of their sails. And so what he said was, it was one of those criticisms, where we always see this. One of the traits of racism is that white mediocrity is praised, and the example of the Obama presidency versus the current presidency. No matter what Obama did, brilliant speaker, articulate, and just everything he says is so forceful and powerful, and just a wonderful speaker. He never gets any credit from the right wing media. And then the guy that's currently in office and then now can't put two words together. But you would see, there would be a criticism. Well, they'll take Obama and they would say, well, it was good, but, whereas the guys that are mediocre get nothing but praise. And so when James Carville come out and he attacked Crockett, he started saying, I've won elections, which isn't true. And he starts just demeaning her with his criticism of her advertisement or her political ad that was so effective. And I've just had enough of it. I've had enough of these Democrats doing that. But then so I think that we need to push back. We can't be, he gets money from the American Bridge. It's a PAC. So he's paid as a consultant. And so essentially the money you donate to the Democrats goes to him. And then he uses his podium to take the wind out of the sails of Democratic candidates. And it's just one of those things.
Not helpful. Not helpful.
And here's where it gets really interesting too. So I posted these things online and somebody said, well, he's no longer relevant. Carville's no longer relevant. And I thought about those things because it was from some of my readers and I'm like, is that true or not? I was thinking about it and said, like, again, I can say it's not relevant, but because like the attacks of racist related attacks don't hit me the same way they hit, people in the Black community or other communities. So it's really important for us not to say, okay, Walter, don't be critical of Carville because he's irrelevant. You're just giving oxygen to him. We have to encourage our other Democrats to say, look, buddy, the things you're saying are going to drive voters away from us. And and it is just interesting the way that they constantly want to go back to that established way. Because what you really see here is he's afraid of a progressive. He's afraid of a Black woman getting a position of power. And he's just got that conservative mindset. So I appreciate, though, that the comments I'd got from my readers, we kind of, over the week, we went through this a little bit. And one of them even said to me, he's like, I think you've convinced me. He said, at first I thought it wasn't, we could just disregard him and the problem wouldn't be there. And because a couple of you were saying we need to focus on the overt Nazis and the guys out marching in the street. And I was saying, those guys are just the sacrificial pawns to distract attention. The real enemy is these guys in the center, like Carville, who are maintaining these systems of oppression and acting like. And I referenced again Martin Luther King Jr.'s his line from the letter from Birmingham jail. We only ever read the "I Have a Dream" speech, but in the letter from Birmingham jail, he writes, and I paraphrase this a little bit, but he says, "I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the greatest stumbling block in the stride toward freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, and who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice." And that summarizes the civil rights era. It summarizes what we're going through today. It's what we're going to continue to endure until, we actually establish equality and justice in our society. So think on those things. I think the true enemy is people like Carville, who maintain an unjust system and try to, using fear, try to keep us to be silent.
Yeah, no, I have no disagreement there. I think Carville's a piece of shit at this point. He may have been relevant in the early 90s when I was born, like as before Bill Clinton, like getting Bill Clinton into office, but he hasn't been relevant for 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
And
he's hurt.
The only reason he's maintained relevance, or he shouldn't be relevant after 30 years because he hasn't won anything since, is he's only maintaining it because, he's old and white makes right in America. It doesn't matter what you say. As long as you're white, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Yes.
That's kind of how America's been forever. And So what I'm going to say is, James Carville, you suck. Jasmine Crockett's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
She's going to rock it. She can win in Texas. She can kick everybody's ass in Texas. And if she doesn't, in a fair election between her and James Tallarico in the primaries, then I support James Tallarico because he would have won fairly. But James Carville, stay the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like you don't live in those districts. You don't live in Texas. You don't need to be there right now. Two,
and his comment,
none of them have Nazi tattoos on them. Neither of these two candidates have Nazi tattoos on them or have Nazi ideologies or possible things like that. Both of them are progressive. The only thing you don't like about Jasmine Crockett is she's black and she's a woman and she's not a white dude. And guess what, white guys? We fucked it up. Like, just acknowledge it. It's okay to acknowledge that we're not the best at everything. Mediocrity is not to be celebrated. If we want a country of meritocracy, then white men, mediocrity is not to be celebrated. You are mediocre at best most of the time. There are a lot of you who are amazing, who just have shitty fucking beliefs, and underneath the surface, you're amazing and warm and welcoming and caring and understanding. You've just been sold a bill of lies that say that just because you're white, you're right, and you're not.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this too is the mechanism that exists, because I was criticizing Carville and I got a couple people, these are kind of mainly just random accounts, like people without profile or people without subscribers. And they were saying, look, don't start in with the circular firing squad. We can't have Democrats against Democrats. They're telling this to me. And I said, look, my response is to Carville's attack on Crockett. So tell it to Carville. But it's sort of like how they always kick it down the road where you have that establishment, old money, ideology where they say that nothing they do can ever be criticized, but they're allowed to criticize the rest of us. And it's bizarre because it's like he isn't relevant. He's not relevant at all. And how is he able to just smirk and just be on a podium and be covered by the news all the fucking time? Because it's like he's distracted. We're looking at all these other places thinking that they're the enemy. And I think it's guys like him. And it's guys like him who prevent progressives from getting into office by telling these lies, using their point. He does it in a way he's hiding his racism by, like this criticism. Well, I'm going to give you some constructive criticism, which is unfair. And all of us have been in classes where we knew the teacher just didn't like us and nothing we did was ever going to get a good grade because they just had something against us. That's Carville. And the other Democrats, long since time, the other Democrats have to stop kidding around because it's becoming obvious. And this has been a week of great progress because I had a couple people just write me back and say, Walter, it's like you changed my mind on this. And it's like it's been so hard to erode the power structure of the moderate Democrats that refuse to work with the progressives and then blame the progressives for everything. We're seeing that crumble. The cracks are starting to be there. And we're on the edge of a power vacuum. We know that this regime is going to collapse, but what we absolutely cannot do, we can't celebrate the collapse of the regime if somebody just as bad then goes into that power vacuum. And that's what somebody left a comment on my article I wrote about Carville the other day. It was wonderful, and it illustrated that point.
What I want is not to have a Gavin Newsom president in 2028. Because he is the epitome of the establishment. He runs a good social media account through Camille Zapata, and she does an incredible job. And he's done some good stuff.
Yeah.
That said, he's also allowed the incubation of the techno-fascist takeover of America, and continues to fund a lot of the projects that are really bad for what's going on, and he's just a slick talking suit, whereas someone like Jasmine Crockett is a person of action and accountability in Congress, and she's not just a suit who's going to change her opinions on the fly to meet the moment. She also doesn't do podcasts with Steve Bannon.
Can't.
And that's probably like a good starting point, is don't do a podcast with Steve fucking Bannon, who's in the Epstein files. And
Yeah.
Jasmine Crockett has the advantage of, if we want to go on like a state idea, is people love her in Texas. If she can win in Texas, she can win anywhere.
Yeah.
If she can win in Texas at a state level for a Senate race, she can win anywhere for whatever race she wanted, whenever she wanted across the country. And she should. If she wins in Texas, I hope she does use it as a starting point to then go to a presidential run. Or if she does really well in Texas but doesn't win, I hope she still runs for fucking president.
Yeah.
Because she would be the best, one of the best candidates, because like we talked about, the future is not me. The future doesn't look like me.
Yes.
The future looks like everybody else. I'm not going to lose my representation when more people are added to represent us. I'm not going to lose my representation when a more diverse representation is created. And I'm not afraid of that, because the most impactful people in my life, who have taught me the most throughout my careers, throughout school, have not looked like me. They've been women, they've been people of color, they've been other men too, but they typically don't look like me.
Yeah.
They don't look like me because I purposely go out and find diverse crowds to go and learn from, because it just takes a little bit of personal effort to want to grow. And James Carville doesn't have any.
Yeah.
And the moderate Democrats like Newsom and like all of this central wing that is fascism later, they're fascist light. It's just fascism later that they want, because if we do not reconcile the issue now, we're going to just kick the can down the road again. We did it after the Civil War. We did it. We tried to do it on a world basis after World War II, but we didn't do it in the US. We did not confront it in the US. And we're not confronting it now. Again, we need to confront it head on, and that's push assholes like James Carville out. And one of the ways we can continue to push assholes and centrists and the old guard out, like James Carville, are as if Trump plays fuck games on the release of the Epstein files. Everyone needs to begin immediately demanding for the impeachment and removal of the regime, because at that point they're violating a law that was unanimously approved, minus that one bigot, Clay Higgins.
Yeah, that guy.
And it's the most basic of failures to faithfully uphold the laws of the nation. It would be a cover-up on the most massive scandals, and Congress would finally have the oomph to say, hey, we voted on this unanimously the first time. If he's not going to follow the law faithfully, then we can kick him out. Yeah. And so I think we should. And I think this is a proving ground going forward on who's with progress and who's just talking about progress and who doesn't give a shit. Yeah. Because if you vote against impeaching, and this is where we all have to speak up too really loudly on this and continue to push this and make this the narrative. And everybody should be calling their representatives about this, and senators, and talking about this and discussing this, is if they fail to release the Epstein files on 12/19, then the regime needs to be impeached. And anyone who continues to help in withholding those files, who is an elected official, should also be impeached. If you can be impeached and you are helping to cover up a child sex trafficking, child rape, child abuse, and international adult sex trafficking, abuse, and rape, and it's like they would be covering it up. they would have gone right over a near unanimous congressionally approved law. You can't, in a time when we can't get anybody to fucking agree on anything.
Yeah.
Every single person, except for Clay Higgins, said, yes, release the Epstein files in full, unredacted, aside from what needs to be done to protect the survivors and the victims. And if they don't, impeach the fuck out of them. Every single day, demand impeachment, and every single, like, I'm going to start ending every single note I put out that said after the 19th, if the files are not released, is I'm going to end everything with impeach, convict, and remove for covering up the Epstein files. And that's everybody should be doing that. And how does this help get rid of folks like James Carville? Because he's not going to demand it.
Yeah.
And when the people overwhelmingly start demanding something, then the parties start to shift. I am not a party person. Yes, I vote Democratic more often than not. Never voted for a Republican. That said, I have a lot of problems with the Democratic Party too, because they're failing us in the time that we need action and we need strength and we need people who will finally just put the foot down. And instead of putting their foot in the sand and putting a line down, they put their foot down and draw a line in a rock.
Yeah.
And then if the rock gets crossed, they throw the damn rock at their head and go, fuck you, asshole. We told you no, and here are your consequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is it. This is how we do it, is the Epstein files. And this is a non-party issue. There are Democrats and Republicans across the board, independents, non-voters, everyone who says this is wrong. And we should be demanding the release of the Epstein files because it's morally and ethically repugnant to fucking protect pedophiles.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things, what you're saying is so important and that we all are looking for ways that we can do things and these little changes in how we think about things. You have to call up your representative and talk about things like this, keep the pressure on. And like that impulse to think, well, Carville's not relevant. Arturo was the one who came forth. He's like, well, the American Bridge, the money that you donate to Democrats is going to that guy. And he is costing us elections because he is saying things that offend. He says Arturo, he's a great resource. He directed me to a quote where Carville told Obama to go toke on a crack pipe. That's blatantly racist. We can't have that. We can't have Democrats being blatantly racist and then telling us, you relax. I know how to win elections, because they don't. And I think there's much more to be gained if we pressure there's nothing that's going to be gained from pressuring the guys on the right. They're entrenched in their hate ideology. We have to pressure the people that are more on our side so that they don't permit guys like Carville to sabotage our efforts. We have a major wing of the Democratic Party that didn't endorse Mamdani. Big problem that shows they don't respect our primaries. That's
Hakeem
where
Jeffries.
our fight is.
Hakeem Jeffries didn't. And he lives in the same fucking state and district.
Yeah, he finally did, like, on the last day. I think it was Schumer who never did it all. But it's like to the point. Yeah, it's bullshit. It is bullshit. Yep. So yeah, but that's what we have to, because it's like, and those of us watching, all the people in the wonderful chat, I mean, it's really, our fight is there, and it's within ourselves, and being willing to stand up and say, you know what, I demand. And that's why I mentioned the pressure the people on the press corps got, stand up when you see injustice. And we have to do it even when it's our Democrats, like the establishment Democrats who've been in the party for 100 years. I wrote another note this week that said, the people who fucked up our country cannot be relied on to unfuck it up. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be them. We need a whole new group.
Correct.
And we have to be willing. We have to be willing to push back against guys like Carville and understand, because he's got himself this camouflage where he's allowed to sabotage and then never be criticized. He sounds a lot like MAGA, doesn't he? He always takes credit when something goes well. He always blames other people when things go bad. And that's part of the establishment Democratic mechanism. And it's why that group does not embrace progressive ideals. We've got to make them embrace progressive ideals.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that he lacks, but he has money that should be coming to the rest of us. Like we all talk
Yes.
about this is
Yes.
like the Democratic wing should be funding independent creators and new media creators and
Yeah, they don't want it. Yeah.
new spaces, but they won't. They only fund the old guard until we push the old guard out.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? We don't let them get away
Yeah.
with letting Trump get away with fuck games of not
Yeah.
releasing the Epstein files. If they try and hold that, we write their names down on everything and we say these are the Democrats that need to get primaried out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can still register for a primary in that district, somebody in our community needs to step the fuck up if you live in that community and run.
Yeah, we'll support you. Come and talk
And
to
we'll
us.
support the shit out of
do
you.
it. Yeah, got a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah,
But
like
they've
you
got a
want a platform to come on and talk. Like I own a news company called Banner and Backbone Media. That media network is allowed to platform you whenever you want. I am allowed to give you free platforming as a business because I have the freedom of speech to say what the fuck I want right now and protect the Constitution as long as it is pro-constitutional. I am not ever advocating for violent actions. It is peaceful and it is patriotic. And if you want to come platform yourself, if you are running for an office, send me a message, send me your campaign website, send me some relevant information so I can look you up and we can have a discussion and I will platform you. Because I want to make sure I'm platforming legitimate people. And we identify who these people need to be by demanding the release of the Epstein, by demanding that Trump and the regime be held accountable if they do not release the Epstein files by the 19th, which, by the way, is the last date that they are supposed to be able to release them, not the earliest date of release. This is the last date. They've been able to release them this entire time.
Yeah.
If they don't release them after the 19th, they are effectively and legally concealing evidence and concealing and covering up legally required documentation from being exposed to the public. And that is a high crime and or misdemeanor.
Yeah, we've got to just clean up our own house before we can really fight fascists too. That's another thing. And it's really interesting how this has got established where we've, really logical, rational people feel they can't push back against the Democrats. But that puts us in this really tough situation where when we're trying to talk to somebody who's Republican, they can throw out all these examples of corruption within the establishment Democrats. And then we're stuck in this uncomfortable feeling like, well, we have to kind of defend corruption within our own party. It's like, if we just go after guys like Carville and call up our representative and say, if you give any money to a guy like Carville, we're not going to give you any money at all anymore. Get them out of there. And wonderful. I'm glad you brought up this comment. I'll read this because this person had this great response when I was going on about Carville and just talking about this issue. Because so many people are like, he's not relevant. Let's keep our focus on the pure Nazis. And this guy says, I agree with what Walter said about the moderates. Here in San Francisco, we currently have an entire group of people who are calling themselves moderate Democrats who are running for every office they can in order to entrench themselves in city and state government. They've already done it before with the Board of Supervisors. We're now aiming for Nancy Pelosi's seat in the upcoming election. Guess what kind of money is behind these moderates? Every type of billionaire, real estate and property developer, corporate lobbyist, and venture capitalist you can think of. They're using diversity and family-based language to make it sound like they're all about families and all are welcome, when in fact our billionaire millionaire, who has never had a real job in his life except to be the heir to the Levi Strauss fortune, has already given all of our city services over to AI and every kind of corporate deal they can come up with. Our libraries, our museums are now promoting AI programs. Our city websites are full of AI blather. He's actively cutting bus and train services and times while giving street priority to Waymo, Lyft, and Uber. Waymo and other autonomous vehicles are all over town despite the city having specifically voted them out. What I'm trying to say is our mayor got into office by promoting himself as an alternative to corruption, and now he's the front man for the corruption. All of his supporters call themselves moderates. Walter's right. You have to also pay attention to the people who are showing you the moderate card in one hand while picking your pocket with the other hand. Actions speak louder than words. And then he also goes on to say he doesn't support Newsom. But this is really important. I mean, we can't just say our side is blue. Because we're just as guilty of the identity politics then, right? We have to have the things we actually stand for. We don't stand for the Democrats. We stand for progressive ideals. We stand for reproductive health care. We stand for, universal health care, education. And if just because a Democrat comes in and says, well, those fascists are bad, vote for me instead, but I also don't support anything you believe in, what the fuck have we done? That's no good. So it's more complicated. It's not just a straight line. This is a complex problem we have. So thank you for listening.
Yeah. And I think, Courtney, you just put into our chat a really cool comment on Substack. I can't show them on the screen. Otherwise, I would restream. Please help us do that. Integrate with Substack a little more so we can have the chat show up on the screen. Yeah. That would be so awesome.
Yes.
And the thing is, Courtney says, is cool. Time to start countering by getting some democracy lovers into office as progressive conservatives.
Yeah. That's a good idea, actually. Really.
And that's, I mean, I've talked about that, is conservative is not the opposite of progressive. We've been lied to be told that conservative means regressive. They're regressives. The opposite of progress is regress. You go backwards if you do not go forwards. So progressive and conservative can be in the same statement, because I'm a progressive conservative. I want to conserve the ideals that are laid out and the freedoms that should be guaranteed for all in our Constitution. I'm a progressive because I want to make a more perfect union, which requires progressing forward to become a more perfect union. So I'm a progressive conservative. I like the idea of doing that because they're not really that different. That's why when we talk about ideas and stuff, Walter and I a lot of times are attacking both parties, but we're attacking the ideas and not the personality of it. Like we're saying, like, this is a bad idea and here's why. And here's a good idea that you can be for that instead. And this is something about, like, we have to promote people who are for good things and for things that we like and care about and want. And moderates don't do that.
Correct.
A progressive does. And whether that, the problem is, like, I'm ready to move past the word conservative altogether. Like, we don't use liberal very much anymore. Let's drop the word conservative and just start using regressive for them. I know, Walter, you and I have had conversations on this and the feelings around conservative and the importance of that word. But yeah, we can take over both. Like, we can take back the word conservative and make it mean something. But also, this is just another example of why I don't trust Gavin Newsom. And not because Newsom is doing this, but because this is what he's fine with. This is the type of politics that he wants. They want the AI takeover. They want all of this stuff that isn't producing any money, that isn't producing value, that isn't helping us and returning good for us, because nobody's getting anything back from it. We're not getting dividends and returns on our investment into AI. We're not getting basic income or basic food security. And what progressives promote and advocate for, like myself, is universal food care for children.
Yeah.
That gets served at school. It would replace school lunches by universal paid food all year round. Cooking staff for schools we can talk. I want to have a full conversation on this idea with you. I think you'd really like this, and I want to get this promoted out as an idea out there in the zeitgeist, because I actually want to get legislation written for this, because I think this is a non-partisan issue. This is a country issue. This is a progressive and conservative issue. Is pro-life for kids, is pro-lunch for adolescents and youth, or the playbill that would feed kids year-round, because kids deserve food.
Yeah.
And moderates would not fight for that. Moderates don't want that
That's
type of things. They want the status fucking quo. They want us to slowly get into fascism
yeah.
and slowly get taken over. But they don't have they don't want to feed us. They don't want to educate all of us. That's expensive.
Yeah. And a big part of our issue right now is just this mechanism that exists to redirect our thinking. We've all been programmed, you know, and as a writer, I mean, I work on narratives, and even I have a really hard time piercing this because there's so many things we're just been conditioned, you know, not to even think and not to demand. I mean, here's an example that's a little bit separate, but getting back to language, you know, we'd say 7 big yellow dogs. You'd never say yellow big 7 dogs, right? That sounds really weird. And it's just
Mhm.
like, there's a lot of ways in our mind we don't even form phrases because this establishment, this moderate establishment, Carville's a good representation for that. He's not the only one. There's a lot of politicians, you know, made in his mold who just sit there and say, now we have to be reasonable, which is bullshit. And then they go on and have these obscene criticisms for people like Jasmine Crockett and nothing but positive things for mediocre white candidates that are probably going to lose the election. And then they turn around and say, well, we only lost by 15 points. The last time we lost for 30. So that's actually a win. You know, it's like, it's not a win. That's a loss. But we have these ruts in our mind that they put us in that keep us captive. So a lot of what I try to do and what Nick tries to do in these discussions, because we unravel it all the time, bit by bit every day, I try to find one way that I've been programmed to think something that's a lie, that's holding everybody back, holding all of us back. We have to flip that switch. We have to make demands. Call up your representatives and say, hey, it's time to get rid of Carville. And if we silence, and it only takes like 3%. That's the other thing. Everybody always is overwhelmed because they're like, we have this big task ahead of us. We have to change the hearts of 50% of Americans. It's not. It's like, it's a small number. It's like 3%. And then it starts creating its own momentum. So we can win this, but it's all the people watching here. You have to make that effort, make those calls, go after the people that are being blatantly racist, overcome. And you're going to notice it because we're pressured to defend corruption among Democrats because they say you have to be part of our party, you know? And it's like, well, you're driving people away if you are tolerant of that form of corruption. We can't have racist ideas. We can't be sitting down with fascists and giving them a platform. We have to talk to progressives. And you know the Democratic moderate establishment does not want a progressive movement but that has always led to prosperity and happiness in the United States. And all it does is take away power from fascists.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have the power to actually do stuff here. And part of that is we're going to be uplifting everyone we can. So we try and get on guests for the shows. We're going to be getting on more guests through the new year. I want to do some program notes here at the end because we're getting right around the holidays as well as we shift into how we can support each other and build this community up. We might be taking we'll be on next week. And we may take the Tuesday after Christmas off, depending on how we both feel, because it's the holidays and we want to make sure everybody has a restful time, but we probably will have things to say and can have a good conversation. So just a little programming notes that we're going to be getting as many guests on throughout the new year as we can. We have a lot of friends we want to talk to, a lot of really good people. We're going to be promoting as many people as we can. And that's the next step, is promote yourselves out there too. Is if you have good ideas, if you are right and you are morally and you're following a morally centered pathway, and a morally and ethically centered pathway that values dignity and values life, remind other people around you of that, and they'll start listening to it because it's right. It is strong and right. Make it country over party again. And let's make it fun and enjoyable to be with us because we have morally and centered and ethically centered values that people care about and that people want to listen to. And so part of all of that for us is also sharing each other and making sure that we build this community strong. And one of those is, first off, credit again, because we haven't talked about it in a while, is credit to the artwork on the show for the background goes to Walter and his daughters. The it, Thank you for providing this art so that I can display it and show it
Right.
off for people. I love being able to expand the creativity and add to the creativity out there and show people that it's okay to be creative. So that's why we do our notes of the week. And so go support Walter because he talks about intelligent masculinity. He is intelligent and masculine, and he is vulnerable and he's willing to share. And he's helping teach other men how to do it, even just by existing. So go support Walter, become a paid subscriber with him. Walter, sell yourself anymore if you
Oh,
want to.
yeah, that thank you so much. That's so wonderful. My daughters, they make me so proud and I appreciate it. And I just as I was telling these people, it's like we were talking, have grace with yourself. It's a I was talking about this with Will Fullwood, how exhausting it is. We're trying to have talks about anti-racism. We have to have talks about integrity. And it's just that effort of reprogramming yourself. It's not easy. We need to support each other. Um, and Will always says too, it's like the mechanism of white supremacy is so strong in the United States. It's going to be in you. It's toxic, and our job is to get it out of us so we don't pass it on to our children. And it'll go away pretty quick if we all take on that effort. It's hard at first. The first days are hard. It's like anything else. Like if you give up drinking, it's tough for a couple weeks, and then you get a couple months in, and then you're not thinking about it anymore because you've reprogrammed that subconscious self. And now you're just spontaneously taught yourself to do acts of kindness without even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You start having all the love in the world that you've always hoped for and wondered why you don't get. It's because, it's like you're constantly doing things. You become that asset to people. And that's what we're working on, but it's difficult. And we're here to support you in things like that. I realize the holidays are coming on. Everybody's up to their eyeballs in expenses. So it's like, if you could afford a sponsorship, it would be so appreciated and so wonderful. I'm up to my eyeballs in expenses too. But if not, just leave your comments, keep doing your shares. All my work remains free. I'm here for you. You can reach out and talk to us. And it's like this last week, especially, has been so wonderful with all the support and all the comments. I learned so much from all of you. And, it's going to take all of us to fix this. And I think Nick and I said, we're making a difference. We'll probably do some sort of end of the year summary because this has been a difficult year for everybody. I've learned a lot. The silver lining has been all of you folks getting to be part of this community, reprogramming ourselves so we can demand a decent world for our kids. We're going to get there. There's no other alternative, and we're not going to quit. So thank you.
Nope. Yeah. And thank you, Walter. Thanks for being with me in this and becoming my friend through all of this. That's the best part about this is finding new connections and making friends. And I think a lot of people in our audience have been able to make friends with each other too, and have connected with each other outside of our shows, across our various networks. So go support Walter because the more we build our communities together, the better.
Yes.
And we're not competition, we're friends, and we're colleagues and collaborators, and we work together because all ships rise together.
Yes.
With that tide. So let's do it. So go support Walter, and then come support me here at Sick of the Shit Publications. Help me build this, and I saw a comment in the chat that was the masculinity part bothers me. I'm an intelligent woman, and I want to say yes. I'm glad you're an intelligent woman. It's important, and men need the space right now too, because there's a vacuum of men who are just saying shitty things. So there's a vacuum of space specifically on masculinity issues, and that's why I talk so much about it. And I hope it begins to bother you less that we talk about masculinity, because the conversation is for men and boys on that. When I say those things, I'm talking specifically at those times about this is a model for men and boys. And I hope it becomes less bothersome for you, as you continue joining us in these conversations and listening in, because we need a space that we don't feel bothersome just by being men, especially if the thing that we're doing as men is positive. It's like I'm not going to come into an intelligent woman's space and go, yeah, but I'm an intelligent woman man too. Look at me here. That's a little bit of pick me, my friend, and it takes away from the idea that we can have a safe place to have these conversations too. Um, and part of that re-education process is we need to stop nitpicking when we're doing the right thing. Like
I'm curious.
it's okay to keep some comments to yourself. I'll end it with that.
Yeah,
But
and some words, I mean, it's hard because some words people have a reaction to, and it's just we were talking about that before with conservative too, and it's just I'd like to hear more from what we need to do. I'm always open. I want to be
yeah,
better. Just that's
yeah,
really
I
Nick
want to be
wants to be
better
better
too.
too. So yeah,
I want to be better too, and I want to make this a place that women feel comfortable coming to. However, and my primary target audience are not the women who are intelligent, because you're already intelligent. I don't need to make you guys smarter. I'm here to make men smarter and make
Okay.
boys smarter and help teach men and boys, because
Yeah,
I have so much I can still learn, and I want
yeah,
to learn from powerful, incredible women. Um, and men need a space that say, "Hey, you're welcome here too," and you feel good. And we're not gonna downplay the importance of that space by doing the whataboutism or the straw man arguments on. But I'm also a person. Can we look at this? Yes, we can. How you can do that is, if you want to feel in a place where isn't specifically about masculinity, come to my Monday shows where I do chronic illness discussions with three amazing women every Monday, and we bring on guests and we talk about chronic illnesses and health related issues in an intelligent way for non-gender specific issues. But there's a gender issue in this country, and I want to
oh,
fix it.
there is, there is.
There's a men's issue in this country, self-made men's issue in this country, and I want to fix it. And I want to be a part of the fixing it. So let's make that space where masculinity may, yes, be a negatively viewed word by a lot of people. But if we're trying to teach men and boys how to be positive influences, we have to respect the spaces that they want to be able to go to without rhetorical arguments that downplay the importance of them. And you can find different places and different spaces for any of us, and we're on various shows. So if this show may not be about you, then great, come to one of my other ones. I love an audience. And if you disagree, also great. I love an
Yes,
audience and like to have these conversations.
yeah.
um,
Feedback is always
and
important. We listen to it and
Mhm.
try to
And
do better.
feedback is, yeah. And we listen and we read all the comments, and I might not respond to all of them on the post show, but I read all the comments, and I see what everybody is saying in the shares, and I appreciate them, even if I don't agree
Yes.
with some of them, as long as they're respectful, and as long as they value the space that we're trying to create. And so I've held Walter a little bit longer. I've got to jump
Oh,
because I've got a meeting here in 15 minutes. But I really appreciate you, Walter, for
I do
coming
too.
on
You too, Nick.
and being with me and being a friend over this past um,
Tough year.
6 months almost now,
Yeah.
if
Wow.
not longer. And yeah, better humaning is,
Yeah, that's
as
a great
Courtney
word.
put in from Stephanie Wilson, it's a thing that she works on, is it's a better humaning project. And so that's what we're doing. Love this, guys. Love this space.
Yeah.
I'm Nick Paro with my good friend Walter Rhein. This has been Notes of the Week on Sick of This Shit Publications. We will be back next Tuesday, have another incredible discussion. It may just be the two of us again. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out. We'll have some fun. We always do. And then we'll do a end of the year roundup, maybe,
Yeah.
on the week after Christmas. So look forward to seeing you again next week, Walter. Always
Yes.
a great discussion, my friend.
Yep. Thank you so much. And thanks to all the wonderful people in the chats. I appreciate all of you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great holidays. Happy Hanukkah for those who celebrate. Merry Christmas and happy Kwanzaa. Happy all of the holidays this time of year. Thanks, everyone, for being with us. Let's stop being sick of this shit and let's